have two links and chose the wrong one.
No, you're here. You definitely chose the right one.
Yep, it's true.
Well, welcome, Terry. Where are you from?
From Alaska, but now we live in East Tawas, Michigan.
Nice.
Wow, were you in Wasilla?
I was in Palmer.
Okay, did you work with Kristen's team?
I'm brand new to real estate. I bought and sold homes from Kristen and Christy.
Well, I know it's early. We'll get some stragglers on, and we'll probably get some from the Wasilla area. They usually log in.
You're muted. Okay.
1 minute.
Say hi to our local spy, Jim Chambers.
I'm spying on you guys.
He's going to be.
I'm going to go jump on in the other room. All right.
Good. Or the merrier.
Cyberspace.
Cyberspace it is.
Well, it's 1 o'clock and it looks like we're going to have some more Sherry's logging in as we speak.
And look,
Welcome.
Alaska's coming in. So I don't know if that's Christy or not, or somebody from the Alaska team. You've got a former client on here. I thought I'd let you know. Go ahead, Sonny. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Welcome to the Denny Grimes, the Mastery of Real Estate. You have a co-host of John McLeod. This class, if you let it, can change your real estate business. Who's ready to change their real estate business today? Woohoo!
Me.
We are also live on Facebook. So if you want to invite any friends, let them know that they can find us on Facebook, the Mastery of Real Estate, Denny Grimes.
Right. And if you got a second, you know how to use the chat by now after a year and a half of Zooms. Why don't you go ahead and just put in there for everyone else to see, because you might be able to do business through referrals. Why don't you just put in where you're located, and you can put your contact information there if you'd like. And we are going to form a group. And anyway, you might be able to do some business. So we have somebody else on the call you want to introduce. Who is that, Sonny?
Well, I introduced you. I introduced John.
Oh, I missed the John. I missed the John thing. Sorry.
It might be my speaker. I did introduce John. John, say hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today?
Now, John's the kind of guy who's got that kind of a radio voice. You think you're listening to Joe Rogan or something like that. So we love
I'd rather
John.
be Joe Rogan than NPR.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so here we go. So I have a few slides to get cracking, and we've had some requests that roll in. So, and I also have the thought of the day really quick. If you're new or not, I see some familiar faces. I want you guys to know that there's a lot of ways to basically hit a golf ball. However, and there's a lot of ways to handle a potential objection. I like to use, and what we like to use here is all question-based, listening enhanced conversations, right? We always lead with questions. There's nothing wrong with a question, and we love great questions. So if you happen to go down a path of the way maybe you do it, we're not saying that's wrong. We're just saying that we're learning how to ask questions, but I think because we think you can get further. So that's what we mean by mastery level role play. If you haven't already, we're approaching the 400 number, and we're going to zoom past that. If you haven't been on our YouTube channel, every one of these is recorded and posted. My news segments are recorded and posted. I just did one today on the insurance cost of Florida and what it may be doing to the real estate market. So that 3-minute segment might be worthwhile to you. And we always seem to follow the same model, and we are drilling this into you guys. John, what is the model?
The model is real simple, Denny. Acknowledge, isolate, address, and close. And you never have the right to close or address until you've completed isolation.
Right. There you go. So if you haven't already, write that down. We'll have maybe Sonny will put that in the chat, or John will. and how you can reach me at dennydeliverstraining@gmail.com if you have any questions. And we'll have a little information about the new role play class we're starting if you want a little bit more individualized training. I want to give you the thought of the day. And it really is 2 words. Here is, whoops, wait a minute. Sorry. Here is the thought of the day. And the 2 words are pay attention. What I mean by that is sometimes we can get so busy in our own little worlds that we're not looking at the big picture. And so I started thinking about this today, and I'm thinking somewhere out there in this country of the United States of America, there's a buyer that was gung-ho at buying yesterday or the day before, and maybe less interested in buying now. I bet you there's more than one seller out there that may have been thinking maybe now is not a good time to sell. I want to wait for the market to go up. And I bet you those sellers might be just a tad bit more motivated today than they were yesterday. Pay attention. What am I talking about, you guys?
Well, I was going to say, who's been following the world news?
You guys, the market, I want you to remember that, yes, there's market segments. The best analogy I can give you right now is that the market is moved by emotion, and the emotion kind of goes up and down like a lava light. So if you can picture a lava light, they were popular when I was a teenager. Younger folks may have to Google that. And there's a lot of things going on right now. Whenever uncertainty enters the marketplace, people get worried and fear enters in there. So basically, what I want you to do now is to pay attention to what's going on and how might that affect the market? How might that change the conversations you have with a potential buyer or seller? Now, you may not have had this conversation yet. You may not have even had the thought yet. However, if you were getting ready to write a check for $500,000, you may have had the think, man, this may send the market tanking. This may send, maybe I'm buying at the top, et cetera, et cetera. So what are your thoughts on that? Because when you look at that and when you look at what's going on inside the stock market, there's always a level of uncertainty. And people's tolerance for uncertainty varies with every person. I just want you to be aware that what's going on, because the person you talked to yesterday may be a different person than you're talking to today. John, what's your thoughts on that?
Agree completely with that, Denny. And it's it's very interesting in chatting with some of my clients this morning about what could be happening and potential short and long-term effects. It's just really interesting getting a different blink from, and I'm using Denny words here, a different blink from people in different sectors and what their thoughts are. There's going to be a lot of questions that people have regarding the stability in general of not just Asia and Eastern Europe, but how that's going to have a ripple effect across the board. So these are great questions that people are going to be bringing up.
Exactly. Has anyone had a comment from any of their clients so far in the last day or so? I mean, this has kind of been brewing for a while. It didn't just fall off a turnip trunk, right? However, it's actually taking place now. It's 24/7 news coverage. Has anyone had any comment from anybody's client, buyer, seller, expressing concern? You can raise your hand and pop on if you want to. I figured we'd do a little role play on that right there. So if you have somebody can volunteer, John, you can kind of watch the hands to be a potential seller or buyer, or like to handle it from an agent standpoint. We're going to do a 3-minute role play, and the objection is going to be, well, hey, based on what's going on over there in Ukraine, I think it's a bad time to buy. Now, as you get your nerve up, and we've got people here. I know Brian's probably got his hand on the hand up already, right? Here's
Brian's been relatively quiet today, Denny.
Brian, come on, dude. Anyway, here's what I want you to know. Take the pressure off. There is no pressure in what we do, you guys, because we have no idea what the future is going to be. Do not lobby for an outcome. Do not project an outcome. In my 40 years, if I were good at predicting the future, I say this all the time, I would buy lottery tickets for a living. You guys, we don't know what's going to happen. It's our job to lay out the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens, right? So, Brian, are you volunteering?
I am.
With that level of energy, I think you'll have the whole class falling asleep on us.
He'll wake up. And
All right, you're the
Moses,
agent, right?
Moses is volunteering
yeah,
too.
I'm the agent. I'm trying to find a screenshot because my uncle sold a house in West Palm Beach. It's a story. It's a short sale in 09.
Okay.
because
Awesome.
because of the economy. So this rolls right into the story what we're about to talk about.
All right, well, let's go. All right, so there's the model. And if you'll just start by saying the model there, Brian.
And
Am I
Moses
talking-
is
am
going
I-
to be your Moses will
Seller?
be your buyer or seller.
No,
So-
I'm actually going to be the buyer.
You're going to be it. Oh, Moses, you're off the hook, buddy.
Yeah, Moses can go next.
Okay, so John, not John. Denny, you're the seller, or what do you want to be?
I'm going to be a buyer right now, and there that is the. If you'll just repeat the model for everyone, so we can get that burnt.
Acknowledge, isolate, address, and close.
There you go. Here we go. So hey, look, I appreciate it. I know you showed me that house yesterday, and we were sleeping on it. We were all gung ho, but however, now that I see what's going on in the news today, I don't think it's really a good time. It's really pretty shaky out there, Brian. I think we ought to just wait.
I hear what you're saying, Denny. Y'all a little hesitant with the market and what decision to make. Other than what's happening in Ukraine, is that the only thing stopping you from buying this house today?
Make note right there. We'll come back to that. Yeah, we were ready. We were ready yesterday, and we're a little concerned right now.
What has changed from yesterday to today?
Well, I mean, have you seen the TV? Have you turned it on? I mean, do you watch anything other than ESPN? I mean, we are in war. War's around the corner, right? Then you know what wars do for the economy. I mean, we're thinking of like bad things.
Bad things may be happening across the world, but do you think that's happening here in Florida?
Well, I mean, you see what the stock market's done? It's going down. You look like gas prices. Now they say it's going to be a major disruption in oil flow from the Ukraine. And that means, Alaska people, the only ones popping champagne right now because oil's over $100 a barrel. A little dig there for you guys in Alaska. I think we're in for a tough road.
Tough road. Now, Denny, if the market was to either become more competitive, or it seems like you're thinking may crash, is that what I guess y'all are predicting, that the market may go down?
Well, I think there could be a better chance going down than up, right? I don't want to overpay.
Yeah, but you definitely don't want to buy a house that will lose its equity, right?
Right.
So if you were to buy from, say, I don't know, 8-10 months from now, and then I don't know, interest rates would be like 5%. Aren't you paying a lot much more now for a house than you would be today?
Who knows? I mean, our interest rate is going to be 5%.
Who knows, Denny? We don't know what the future says.
All right, that's about 3 minutes. So nice job with the questions. Staying with the model. Any comments, you guys? I'll ask you, Brian, first, really quick. Anything there you think you did really groovy? Anything you would maybe do differently?
No, I want to hear other people's opinions.
Okay. Anyone have a comment? James, you're muted.
Yeah, I have one comment. It's in my mind, it's hard to know what this whole Ukraine invasion thing is going to do, but I think the hope on most people's heart is that it'll only last less than a week, and there'll be some kind of resolution one way or the other. So that, but the other thing that I've noticed that's more concerning to me for our sellers out there is I'm a student of the market, and I watch what's going on with certain listing types that I'm curious about. I have drip email set up for myself on an ASAP, immediate deal for everything downtown, all the luxury stuff that I like to deal with. And I'm seeing, starting within the last week, a whole lot more price reductions coming down than we've seen at all. So to me, my red flag is this could be, the start of something greater. That's, you better get your house on the market now
Jim,
before it gets worse.
How are you going to address the concern of a buyer or a seller in that regard? So what we're going to stay on here is, how does the world geopolitical situation affect our marketplace?
Yeah, and let's stay. We're going to come to that too, Jim. Let's stay with the Brian's role play. Let's give him some feedback and then we can come to that, and then we have another request we'll do next. So I congratulate you for tracking the inventory. That's exactly what you should be doing. So anybody have any feedback for Brian on how he handled the role play? And if not, John, you can watch if any hands go up.
Yes, I would like to add that if I were the agent, I would ask more about what means overpaid for the client, because he is concerned about overpaying. But what more information can I have about that?
Yes, and I have a feeling if I had given him more time, he'd have got around to that. I cut him off, and when he was still doing his diligence, attempting to dig in and find out what handle to grab. Anything else, John? If you see anything, great. If not, what you can give him a blink. I made a couple quick notes.
I was going to say, one of the notes, Denny, that you wanted to come back to was when he mentioned Ukraine specifically at the beginning.
Yes. Well, okay. So here's my feedback. Number one, the objection of I don't want to buy right now because I think it's going to be worse tomorrow than today is no different, because Ukraine is happening. Then they would have. It's the same objection if they'd have given it to you a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. It's that something's keeping them. And now Ukraine is in the forefront. And I just want you to know it is the same objection. It's just using different words. So they have a concern about the future. They're fearful of stepping forward. So the way we handle it, it's exactly the same. And again, we don't know what the future is going to be. Now, going specifically back to what Bryant was talking about, he mentioned Ukraine. I want you to think, because we're dealing with question-based listening enhanced, because we want to mirror and match their words. Did I ever say Ukraine? I did not. I said what happened last night. Now, just be careful. We may not be talking. I mean, there's a good chance, good probability, because I set this role play up. I just want you to be careful. Make sure you use the words that the customer is using. What happened last night? You might want to get some clarity. What are you referring to? Something else may have happened. So just be careful not to answer a concern that you don't have clarity around. He did the same thing when he used the term lose equity. I never said lose equity. So as we role play, and Brian's been on here, he's really gotten to be very good at the question-based role play. I wanted to point out, use their words, not your words. I never mentioned lose equity.
So Denny?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's take it back back to the Ukraine incident. All right. You are the agent. Let me be the seller. Let me be the buyer in this case. And go ahead and throw the Bryant's comment about the Ukraine. Let me just kind of show you where this can go.
Oh,
So, I'm really concerned, Denny, about what happened last night.
Oh, are you concerned about Russia invading Ukraine?
No, my wife and I got in a fight.
Yeah. See.
So
yeah,
we have preconceived notions about what somebody means. And last night, 99% of the time, Bryant's person is going to be concerned about Ukraine.
Right.
Not every time.
Yes. And I jaundiced his opinion because I prefaced it with the Ukraine speech. However, good point, John. Thanks for bringing that out. So any other questions on that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about that the issue was not Ukraine, but the lack of what's going to happen in the future. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Because to me, it seems like a legitimate concern. The situation in Ukraine, we don't know what's going to happen. So could you talk about that a little?
Okay, and so my point is a concern of what's going to happen in the future, other than Ukraine. What other concerns have buyers voiced in the last 6 months?
Raising interest rates, right?
Right. All right. Well, that would go right. Okay. What else?
Market crashing.
Bubble, market crashing. Yes. So
Wow.
whatever concern they have about moving forward is the same. It is the fear something's going to disrupt the market.
Oh,
And
God.
And so we have to find out what's your fear. And I'm making an assumption here. Most people have the fear that, well, I don't want to buy at the top. I don't want to lose equities. And going back to using Brian's statement. So that's what I'm saying is that you would handle it the same way. For example, yeah. So you're concerned about. So you said you're concerned about what happened last night. What were you referring to?
Well, I'm afraid that, we're going to have, America's going to be at war, and there's going to be, either as held up as the ports are now, they'll be even more held up, and prices will continue to rise. And it's just scary. I don't want to make any decisions, when things are so volatile right now.
So let me ask you, other than the concern of what's happened in Ukraine, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to step into the market right now?
No, I just think the market's so volatile, and I don't want to make a decision during this time.
I got it. Now, what's interesting is I believe there's buyers out there that are afraid to move forward. Ukraine is a very convenient excuse. So that's why we're going to handle it the same way. So, all right. So let me ask you, we were looking for a home for some particular reason. Now, you would know this. However, we don't know what her motivation is. Why did you want to make the purchase in the first place?
Well, I wanted to be in, I wanted a bigger backyard.
And okay, and there may be some other things. I'm gonna attempt to truncate this a little bit. And are you owning or renting right now?
Okay, I'm writing it down as you speak. I am owning.
Okay. For time's sake, because that takes us into another role play. Let's just say you're renting.
Okay, I'm renting.
Good. I love to have my clients be the buyers and sellers be obedient to me like that. I wish it was like that in real life. So, all right. So let me ask you. You've got that uncertainty out there, and you're afraid of that uncertainty. When did you start to feel that way?
I think once in January, when the market went up another 10%, it's just scary. It's unsustainable, and it just, yeah.
Now, I'm going to stop because I want you guys to hear and listen. What just happened there?
It wasn't really last night. She's going all the way back to January now.
All right, now you're listening. Therefore, if it's not last night, it's not Ukraine. What is it?
Go
Go ahead. You can answer.
Volatility. The volatility of the market.
Which is basically highlighting the exact point I'm attempting to make here. People will say Ukraine. That's not it. They're concerned about the volatility. So don't think that they were ready to go and they were ready to write a contract right away, although they acted like it. And then Ukraine happened. That might have been the straw on the camel's back that put them over the edge on uncertainty. However, I'm glad you picked up on that, Terry, because what she did is she shifted Ukraine to uncertainty, on volatility of the market. So if you're going to attack an enemy, you want to know who the enemy is, right? So I'll spend one more minute on this, John, and we can go to something else. So you were concerned back in January, right? That was like 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you seen happen since then? Has the market gone up or gone down?
It went up.
And you know how long the market's been going up?
Past 2 years.
Ooh. Would you believe it was longer than that?
Oh. It's always been going up.
Well, it's been going up for 12 years. So knowing what you know now about the market and its history, if you could go back to any point in time to buy a home in the last 10 years, where would you go? When would you buy?
2010, 2009,
And why?
cheap prices.
Yes. And do you realize, would you believe that there were people back in 2009 were afraid to step into the market because we're just coming out of a bubble and they thought it was gonna last a lot longer, and they did not buy?
Yeah.
Well, I can't take you back to 2009. Let's just assume we're here today and then the market continues that march forward. Let's
Well,
say
what-
next year at this time we have that conversation, it's gone up 17%. How will
Well,
you feel?
Well, what if it goes down 35%?
Okay, I mean, that's possible, I guess. How long are you going to be in the home?
5 years.
Okay, so is it possible it could go down, or it could go up, or it could go down and up in 5 years? It'd be and it being a good investment for you?
Yeah, could I, looking at a role play, could you just, I took notes on what you said, but could you like guide us, like what's the path and direction that you were taking? Because like, even when you had asked a question, you know, how long has this market been going up for? I find that question to be like an obvious answer, so it's condescending, so I wouldn't ask it. But some questions are so obvious that you ask. So,
yeah,
yeah,
we get a preconceived notion as agents in our head that everything we talk about, we know inside and out. It's our language. Guess what? The everyday person does not know it. In fact, if you ask the everyday person how long the real estate market's been going up for, what do you think they would say?
I don't know.
Probably 2 years, maybe 3 years, right, Denny?
Well, that's what she said.
Yeah,
what
and that was your initial thought when you had your buyer hat on. And guess what? Yes, most buyers that they're going to say it's been going up for 2 or 3 years. When the reality is the market's been going up for 12 to 13 years. So we have to get out of our, I hate to say it this way, we have to get out of our own way, because we have preconceived notions in our head of what somebody's thinking and what they're going to respond with. Just like, and Bryant was 99 and 4400 spot on his Ukraine comment. However, you just don't know until you clarify it. So don't be afraid to ask the same question over and over. It's going to seem redundant to you. It is not redundant to your client.
Right.
They've
And then
probably never been challenged.
I guess what I'm thinking is like going back to the model, the address and the close part. So could you like break down from this role play, which parts were the close parts, which were the address parts?
Well, all right, so I isolated, you know that. So the address, basically, my style is I address the issue by leading you to the realization of the answer. And probably the address, so I took you back. And so I took you back to another time. There's other ways to ask the question. I took you back and I attempted to make you identify with people even back then, which you have defined as a great time to buy. Back then, people were afraid to buy. And move you forward. I can't go back, so I'm going to move you forward. So that whole process was addressing it. Now, let's say the market in 2 years, or I said 1 year, goes up 17%. So now I'm getting on future pacing you into pain.
Okay.
Now you push back. What if it goes down 35%?
Mhm.
Well, again, I can't say it won't. The next thing is, how are you going to be in the home? Well, most people, 5 years is okay. You can say whatever you want. Most people will be there longer. If they're going to be there 10 years, it doesn't really matter. So the bottom line is, and all right, let's say it goes down 35%. In 5 years, you've lived in the home, you've got the big backyard and all those other things versus renting. Would it have added value to your family?
So what are you showcasing when you're asking that question? How long are you going to be in the home? What are you trying to highlight for them?
John, that's in your alley, babe.
So, Denny, I try not to go down the road when you're on that road. So how would you handle it? You were doing this.
Me?
I mean, I'm really high D, really high C when it comes to this sort of thing. And if the person's renting, I'm going to say you're spending $50,000 a year on rent. That's 100% interest. Would you rather give your money to somebody else, or at least have the opportunity to put that money back in your pocket? Jim Chambers has his hands up. Let's see what he's got to say on this.
Jim Chambers.
I had a question, more likely, but I think just because the way I'm wired, I would probably try to ask questions. First of all, how long do you want to be in the home? If it's 5 to 10 years, then I would get into the things that there's no information out there right now that would lead anyone to believe that there could be a 35% decline. I suppose it could happen, but that would mean a huge amount of inventory to hit the market all at once, like what happened in 2007, 8, 9. But right now, since then, there's been such an underserving of new homes to hit the market. That's part of why the inventory is so low right now. We're still 5 million houses behind where we should be on average. And most everyone has equity in their homes right now. And today, with historically low interest rates, wouldn't it be a good idea to get the home that would work well for your family, with the nice backyard that you're looking for, and to fix that payment at something that's affordable for you?
You're not touching on any of the emotional issues. When your whole speech, I literally was like, this dude does not know anything about me, and he's just talking out at me. That was my perspective hearing your pitch, because the issue is volatility. It's not, I don't know. Do you hear what I'm saying, Denny, or am I?
Well, again, and I appreciate what Jim had to say. Now, Jim is, I think, wired a little bit like John. I think you would be a detail engineer type.
That's why Jim and I get along so well.
Yeah. So yes, you were logic heavy, and you may or may not be right. And so what I think you will find that will work better in the long run is bite-sized questions that would deal with where their pain is. And the whole purpose of reason one to ask, and this is what y'all ask, is why 10 years? Well, 10 years is going to smooth things out. Does it really matter? Because the bottom line is, I can guarantee you your rent's going to go up. And John's point is, you would put $50,000 a year into rent. So go ahead, y'all.
I was going to say, I think that when you're qualified, how long are you going to stay? You're qualifying to know what the next question is, how to direct them. You're just getting information from them. But because I'm such a analytical person, I'm like, okay, well, what's the purpose? Because it's like chess. So we're pulling out that, how long are you staying in the house? But John, I think his name was John. Sorry, John. Yeah. His strategy is do you want to be paying rent for that long? So what's the difference between the two approaches?
Well, they intertwine. So I gave you the very quick answer on it. Denny's way of doing this is to walk you through step by step, so you come to that realization yourself. Okay. Now, the question is, the point that you've made a couple of times, Yael, is you're concerned about volatility.
Yeah.
So what is it about the volatility that concerns you?
Got it.
Okay. Once you have that, and any answer, you can throw out any answer you want. Once you have that, you know where your next stepping stone is. Okay. Now, what if the market drops by whatever, throw a percent? Because that's most people concerned about volatility. It's well, what if the market drops when I have to sell?
So then you
okay. And so
it leads to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you say, well, do you own now or do you rent? And you've just painted them into a corner with that question. If they own, well, isn't the market going to go down on your house too if it goes down on the new one? Okay, so that really doesn't matter then, right? If they rent, how many have heard the expression that rent is 100% interest?
No, I never did until you said it.
I never either did.
I just came up with something that Denny's never heard of. That is, someone mark that down on the calendar. Think about it. When you're paying rent, you get precisely 0% return on your rent. Precisely. So if you are in an area where your rent is $3,000 a month, you're spending $36,000 away, and it goes away. So Yael, follow me with this. How much is your rent?
I pay $2,000 a month.
Okay, wonderful. And let's say that. By the way, what price point are we talking about? The house that you
450,000.
Okay, wonderful. You know, Yael, if you think the market's going to drop, yeah, we know it's going to go up and down over time. So you're planning on being here for 5 years. Where do you think the market's going to be? Doesn't matter what I think. This is your feeling. Where do you think, or where are you afraid the market's going to be?
I'm afraid that that the interest rates are going to rise and that people won't be buying houses. And then when I sell, I'll have no one to buy my house.
You know, I completely get that. So other than that, is there, other than your concern about interest rates going up and nobody buying your house, is there anything keeping you from moving forward?
No.
Okay, great. So now over the next 5 years, you're going to pay about $180,000 in rent. Do
Okay.
you think that the house is going to drop by $180,000 in value?
So what he's saying is you're guaranteed to lose 180 if you stay.
Yeah, you stay there, you lost 180 grand. You buy the house and you can only sell it for 350. Guess what? You're $80,000 ahead of the game. And this is the mindset that people have a hard time grasping.
A very local issue that I have in my area, I live in Lakewood, New Jersey, is that the homes are too expensive for people to buy. So that's why they're not buying, because the market went up so high. So people were able to afford 354 and now that's 556.
So let's challenge you on that too. This is agent to agent. Okay. Only because I saw the statistics over the weekend. Right now, the average homeowner in the United States is paying 16% of their income towards housing.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s, when our parents owned homes, they were spending 24% of their income on housing. So is it cheaper to own a house today or cheaper to own a house 40 years ago?
Today, that is so cool.
So
You're geeky like me. I need to appreciate that.
let me move this forward and so we can go into the next chapter here.
Sorry, Denny.
No, that's okay. That was an
I'll
excellent.
mute myself.
Yeah, the duct tape button. It's a duct tape button right there. So this is the question I'm going to ask you guys. I want you to ponder it because you can ask a buyer or seller this. Uncertainty is the key, whether it be Ukraine, market bubble, blah, blah, blah. Uncertainty is the key. Can someone name a time in your life where you bought a home that there was zero uncertainty in the marketplace? Anybody? We just came out of the greatest market we've ever had in 2021. Was there uncertainty in the marketplace? Come on, talk to me.
Taking the duct tape off. When COVID first hit, I had 8 deals fall apart before my eyes. And the buyers pulled out because they didn't know what was going to happen.
And I wonder if they're sorry they did.
Oh boy, are they sorry.
Generally, when there's the most uncertainty, there's the most opportunity. My whole point in this is we don't know what the future is going to be. You've got to help them see the other side. So if you stay there and wait 5 years, John just did it financially. You know, there's other intrinsic value of having a house with a big backyard, another bedroom, walkout basement, whatever it happens to be, versus renting or in the smaller home. How long are they going to have to wait before uncertainty gets to a point where that's tolerable? There will always be uncertainty. Can you talk them down a little bit on the uncertainty scale where the uncertainty is palatable? It's just like risk. Some people are more COVID phobic than others, and so you go to a gas station, go to the grocery store, go to the pharmacy. They're taking a risk. These are the same potential sellers that say, I don't want anybody in my house. Well, they're taking a risk by going to the grocery store, right? However, in their mind, it's a calculated risk. Can you ask them, can you walk them through the process of selling their home? We can handle it to make it a calculated risk where it would be acceptable. So As we get ready for the next role play, I wanted to share with you, I have a couple new little thoughts here I want to share in case you're new. I guess this is something we brought up last week. If you're interested, next week and Friday, we're starting a group training. If you're interested, there'll be a very small group, 4, no more than 8. And that's going to be on Fridays, every Friday, for about 45 minutes. It's $300 a month for a 3-month minimum. You just pay monthly. And I made one change on the slide. It will be at 1 o'clock Eastern, not 2 o'clock Eastern, if you're interested in that. And we do offer some one-on-one training if you're interested in that. And here are the points that I'm going to be covering in our one-on-one time or on our group time. There's 8. I think there's 8 points to mastery, and some of this you're going to see. And Jim asked a question on one of these points, which I trust we can get to. I believe these are the 8 points of mastery that I finally articulated. This is the first time that I've shown it. Number 1, understand market stats. Gary Keller says to be the local economist of choice. You don't have to be a Poindexter. You don't have to be a rocket scientist and have a slide rule in your pocket. However, certain things you should know ahead of your buyers and sellers. Next, the power of the third-party stories. There's huge, when you say something, even when you tell something, it has less impact than when you say, well, let me tell you about somebody else I worked with over here, and you tell a third-party story. That's like C4, very powerful. Next, the power of using their world. I love using analogies. I do it all the time. I'm an analogy machine. I don't care what profession you are. I can develop an analogy and speak into your world. And I don't know if I was born with that gene or not. Maybe I got that instead of a voice to sing. Next, articulating your value proposition. Can you sit with the seller and really go over the fact why they should use you? What is your value proposition? Why are you free to them? Why are you a better value to them? And the same with the buyer. Why should a buyer work with you? That's called value proposition. Next, the art of silence. That's the art of listening. The power of their why, not your why. And it's one thing that we minimize on this call a lot because we don't have the time to go deeply into the why. You've got to make sure, and there was a good example here between James and Yael, because James was being on the logical side where we got to make sure we get that emotion too. And it can't be all emotion, it has to be logic. So it's a fine line. How not to be attached to the outcome. And the last one is how to ask great questions. So anyway, that's all. And if you're interested in that or individual training, not really coaching, it's just training, that's my email, DennyDeliversTraining@gmail.com. Now, there was a request from someone, I think I was talking to Yael, and she was talking in terms of, you were asking me the transition to ask for the appointment, right? Was that the essence of your question? And James, don't go away because we're going to get to your situation, your observation here in a minute too. So I just want to spend a minute here. So you can take the duct tape off just for a second, Yael.
I think yes, we're good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, then let's then go into James. So James is seeing an uptick in inventory. So number 1, he's tracking inventory. And so in a nutshell, James, how often do you track it and what are you seeing? And well, I'll just start with that.
Okay, thank you. I track it multiple times a day because I set myself up as a client on drip emails for certain neighborhoods that I'm interested in, which is basically everything west of 41, from our office down to Port Royal, essentially, plus a few more. But I see as I get those instant alerts in, once you set that up, it's only 1 or 2 houses every email. But I've seen a lot more price decreases in the last week than ever before, where everybody's been price increase, with the sole exception of some that are in the high rent district down here that are obviously new construction or under construction. A lot of those you see price increases, but they're not, they're not done for another year or whatever. And that's probably because of increase in cost and value, I suppose.
All right, so let me ask, is anybody else around the country, with you guys from Alaska to Akron, Ohio, and Alabama, right? So is anybody else seeing what Jim just articulated? Now he's looking at it on a very micro level, and the market is a lot like a football game if you get too granular. Just when you think, ask Tom Brady and who are they playing? Atlanta in the Super Bowl. Atlanta was killing them, and all of a sudden Brady came back. I had to get a football analogy in there in one. So you can't measure the market in,
So Denny, just a reminder, who was the quarterback in that game?
yeah, I was thinking about that. Okay. Not happy with him right now. So you can't measure the market by the minute. Now however, what's interesting is he's seeing some tremors. So I'm just asking you, you can come off mic. Are you seeing any uptick in inventory since the first of the year? Anybody, let me know where you are. What are you seeing in a nutshell?
I'm seeing more homes hit the market. I'm not seeing price decreases.
Okay, who else?
Denny in Alaska. This is Christy.
Yep.
We're not seeing price decreases or more inventory. We're still seeing multiple offers pretty much on every listing that's coming on still.
Well, is that $100 barrel helping you guys up there?
I'm sure. But I haven't seen any kind of like statistical impact from that.
Okay. So then I'm going to do this. John, I need an agent. And we already did a buyer, so I'm going to do a seller.
Oh, Moses has been waiting patiently.
Yes, he has. Moses, absolutely. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Moses, you're the agent. I'm a seller. And you're the agent. And let's say you've been tracking like James' inventory's been going up. And I heard maybe you posted something on your socials, inventory's going up. So let's have a conversation, Moses.
Okay, sure.
I was thinking about selling, and I'm a little concerned now. I saw your post on Facebook that your inventory is growing, it's going up. Do you think the market's turning?
That's a very good question. What is it that you really want?
Well, I was thinking about selling my house and maybe buying another house. However, if the market's turning, I don't want to overpay for a house. So I may just stay put.
Well, wouldn't you rather sell when the market is high versus selling when the market is low?
Okay, well, let's go back to the model. What's the model, Moses?
Acknowledge.
I acknowledge, right? Did you acknowledge?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then what's the next one? Next step?
Isolate.
Did you isolate?
No.
All right, so isolate, please.
Okay, so how much money do you need for your home?
That's not isolating. What's
Other
isolating?
than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Oh, boy. All right.
Duct tape back on.
So you've got to you got to find out if there's any other concern. So other than that, basically other than that.
Okay.
So,
other than that, where would you like to buy?
well, okay, so I know I kind of went back and forth. It would be, other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to be selling and buying, right?
Okay.
That it's not the where. This is not a where conversation. This is, do you or don't you want to do it, or is there anything else keeping you from moving forward?
Okay.
I'll make it simple and say no. That's it.
Is there anything else that would stop you from listing your home today?
Well, I'm a little concerned about, I mean, if the market's going to change, I'm going to buy something and right now there's low inventory. You said there's more inventory coming. So I think I may wait and see if more inventory is coming, and it might be a better time to buy.
Well, do you want to list your house aggressively with everyone else, or would you like to move forward in this market?
I'm not sure I follow you. Ask again.
I'm not sure. Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. Where are you? What are you attempting to do?
Okay, I would like to know whether the seller wants to move forward in this market based on current value.
Well, Well, here's my concern. If inventory is going up, this house may go down in value. So probably selling now would be good. However, when I go buy, it's going to go down in value. So, and there's nothing out there for me to buy. And I mean, there's nothing. I'm afraid I'll not have a house. I don't want to be homeless.
Okay.
I
So,
promise to get that in every week. Yeah, you know that. So there you go.
okay. So are you saying that you would like to find a house to go before you continue moving forward with selling your house?
Well, I think selling right now with low inventory, although it's changing and based on what you said, it was be easy. Then I'm sure you can sell my house, but then I'll have nowhere to go.
Okay. So would you like to be a buyer before you're a seller? Can you afford to buy without selling your home?
Let me just stop right there. Do you see how, now he's got the right question. However, do you see how he made me feel a little bad?
By asking?
By asking if I can afford it.
Oh,
Why don't you just add, you've got the right question. What would be a better way of stating that question, you guys?
can you?
Yeah, can you buy without selling your existing home? When you go to the afford thing, now I feel like, particularly my wife's standing there, I'm deadbeat. Right now I can't afford it. Don't feel good. I even felt bad in role play. So y'all get my drift. No, I have to sell first. So I need the equity. And that's another way you can say it. Do you need the equity from this house to buy your next house? It has nothing to do with affordability, does it? Little cheapskate. So
Denny, that using the word need in that example is so important because there's a difference between need and want. They might want the equity to purchase, but they don't necessarily need the equity to purchase. Just remember that fine line.
yeah, good point. So yes, I have to sell first before I buy.
Okay. So, how much money do you need for your property?
No, I'm having a hard time with that question.
You're the professional. You tell me what it's worth.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I don't mean it. What can I get for my house?
Okay. Well, your neighbor's house just listed for $1 million. Based on that, with your property, how much do you want for your property?
All right, let's stop and see. Okay, so I think we get this objection. You guys are going to get this objection all the time. I'd like to sell, but I don't know where I'm going to go. I promise I'd cover it every week. So really fast, the steps are, and I won't go through that. We can go into something else. If you got a request from the crowd, you want to put a quarter in the jukebox. What song would you like to hear? Anything's good, particularly Shania Twain. It's my favorite. You want to find out, just like Moses did, once he isolates, am I a buyer or seller? I'm not a buyer because I have to sell first. So he's going to have to work with me on the seller. However, do you all remember the conversation to take me into, okay, so you got to make sure, you got to ask me, where am I going to go? Am I seeing homes where I want to go? What happens? They sell fast. Are they affordable? So if you had the money or equity, could you buy it? Yes. How much time would you need? Then you go into the golden seller routine. That's the model. Any comments? You guys have heard it probably till your ears bleed. Anybody have any comments or questions about that?
Yeah, I do.
No way.
I'll tell. Basically, I find there's always another reason that they're just not telling you. So I'm working with a couple of sellers, and there's like an emotional piece where I feel like I can't move the needle. One, it's she needs to sell her house in Rome. The other, her son has to come home and get married. Just like each person, like they're using the excuse I have nowhere to go, but that's not even the reason. I'm sorry, I'm being so broad.
Well, if they give you a list of reasons, okay, so let's say there's 3 or 4 reasons. There's a question you ask after you've got to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. You've got to, they got to cry uncle. No, I mean, they may have 3, they may have 33. At some point, they're going to say, gosh darn it, I can't think of any other reason why I'm delaying this thing. So no, that's it. When they give you the laundry list of reasons and they say no more, the rules of the game is they can't give you any more. Now, I know they don't play by the rules.
Sometimes people just don't want to. My brother's, I shouldn't say this on the air, but basically let's say he's building a house, right? And he has the money and he could build a house right now, but he doesn't want to. So he's going to wait 2 years.
I love that.
Sometimes people, they don't want to sell their house right now. They want to sell it in the future when they don't know.
Well, I love that. You know, awesome. How can I help you in the meantime? Would you like me to stay in touch? I mean, if they don't, I'm not saying we're going to like have a little watch and we're going to hypnotize them to sell when they don't really want to sell. I'm just saying if they do, I mean, if they have that desire and they're always laying objections out there, that may be them saying, I really don't want to, and I don't want to hurt your feelings because you're a nice lady. I would rather them be honest. However, if people are balled up sometimes in emotional or they're fearful of something, what we want to do is the reason we're having the conversation is this: it's not to make the sale. It's to basically understand how we can help them. So the salesman is going to push for the close, and the objections is answer and close. It does not mean you're going to close them to do business today. You're going to close to know how to handle them later. And if they don't want to sell, that's awesome. Saves me a lot of time. I mean, holy cow. So any requests, Sonny? Coming back to you, I know I should have warned you to make sure you're awake. Anything?
Denny, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Hi. So you were referring to about the golden seller routine. What is that routine?
All right, now who's talking to me?
My ladies.
My lady, right? Am I saying that right?
No.
It'll take me a long time to get the names. I mean, Susie and Jane, I get really pretty. All right. So the golden seller is the seller that basically says, look, I have to sell before I buy. So the bottom line is, what if we could find, I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version, if you remember that, the Cliff Notes version. What if we can find a buyer? We've already determined you see homes over here in Tanglewood that pop up about every week or two. And if you had the money, you could buy it. So I said, how much time would you need if you had your money in your pocket and you can go buy a house? Well, probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So what if we could find a buyer that would give you your number, allow you to stay in your house, give you your money and your price, and allow you to stay in that house for 5 weeks until you find another house? How would that work? Well, I guess that would work. Well, that's awesome. We call you the golden seller because there's buyers over there wanting to find a seller that will sell them a house that they don't have to move into right away. They don't want it to sit empty. They want somebody to take care of it just like you do. So that is a golden seller. Does that help you?
Yes, that makes sense.
And for someone who's a rational seller, that'll work all the time. Although sometimes and many times there's other issues, just like we were talking about. You've got to get the junk out of the trunk. Any requests out there?
Thank
guys?
you.
No request in the chat yet.
Well, we got 4 minutes. So who wants to do a quick role play? John, do you see any hands up? John's gone. The audience is dropping like flies.
What about Vanessa?
Vanessa.
Me?
Where is she? Now that's the name I can handle.
Doing a role play or a question?
What do you want to role play? Cold call for sellers to capture equity. Role play. All right, Cheryl, where are you?
I'm here.
All right. So you want to be the seller or the agent?
I will be I want to know how to be the agent when I cold call, because that's what I'm doing, but I want to know what to say when I'm trying to get them to sell because they're sitting on equity.
Well, okay. May I just revisit your statement there?
Yeah, I see a lot of problems with that. Get them. Yeah, that's not what I should be trying to do.
Yeah, but that's kind of an aha, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to find, okay, so this is what I pulled in this might be helpful. Okay, so there's, let's see here. All right, there's 7 categories of shadow sellers that we've talked about before. We don't have time to talk about all of them. However, I'm going to say, I'm going to use the should be's. I'm going to assume that you're calling people that should be on the market that aren't. So let me give you a script that is really pretty cool. You're going to call them and assume you have some relationship with them. I mean, I would not use the first part of this script if you don't really know them, because it will sound ingenuous. So assuming you know them or had some sort of contact, hey, I have 2 reasons for my call today. First of all, how you doing? Now, if you're going to do cold calls like that, it won't work because it's none of your business, right? However, if you have a relationship, they'll talk. So if it's a cold call, then you would go to the second part. You might say, for example, this is one way to start the conversation. Ring, ring, your answer. And I'm talking to who? Cheryl?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, hey, Cheryl, this is Denny Grimes, Keller Williams, Naples. Hey, I just want to take a quick second and let you know that this market has been white hot. And there's 7 reasons why a seller should be on the market now. Would you have any interest in knowing what those are?
Well, we're not sure we want to sell at this point. We like our home.
I got that. And you know, there's a lot of buyers that would like to buy in this neighborhood. Congratulations for owning here. I'm just kind of curious, do you have any of your friends or neighbors that would be interested in being able to capitalize on a white hot market?
Not that I can think of, but what do you think my home is worth?
Oh, well, are you talking about what it would be worth in today's market?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'd be happy to provide that information. What's the best way to get it to you?
I guess you could mail it to me, or I can give you my email. Now,
I'm going to stop right there. Whatever you're going to use from a cold call, and for example, you know, this could be another thing. Hey, listen, ring, ring, this is Denny Grimes, Keller Williams, Naples. Hey, listen, I want to take a minute of your time and let you know, there's an extreme shortage of homes for sale in this market. And I mean, that's kind of curious. If you could sell your home for more money than you could ever imagine in this white hot market, would you have any interest in doing that? I mean, that's the line, right? I mean, no, I don't mean a line. That is a conversation. So I have 7 different conversations depending on what type of seller they are. And they generally start with, how are you doing? However, if they're cold call, they go right into the fact, hey, look, my favorite right now is, we had in fact, I role played this with Yael the other day. I mean, she sold 2 homes in one neighborhood. And so what a great way. Hey, look, I sold the houses around the corner. Are you interested in finding out what they sold for? Would you like to know when they close? And by the way, we have a lot of people looking here, and I like the backdoor approach. Do you have any neighbors that have thought about maybe selling and taking advantage of a jackpot market or white hot, whatever you want to say it? Not list. You never want to ask them to list. That's like, let's go to the dentist and get a root canal today. No, I don't want to list. Listing's bad. I want to be greedy. So
that's really helpful. I've been trying to reach out to absentee owners. I'm starting there that have owned their property for a while. And I've actually put 5 people in my database. Now that's really, not today, but they're not working with an agent. One actually was interested in doing some other purchases. So that's good. But it's just a matter of, are you aware that you have all this equity? Would you like to know? So I think you've touched on a lot of the stuff. I just don't have a specific, I'm winging the script, and that's what I don't feel comfortable with.
Awesome. Well, you guys have been awesome today. Before we go, is there anyone that learned anything that would like to share an aha? Please.
Don't assume that it's all about you whatever it's called over there.
I liked
I wouldn't say it's aha, but
all right.
I liked the person you talked to yesterday may be a different person you were talking to today. I think that's important with my buyers.
And what you just made me think of, that can happen any day without Ukraine. I mean, don't know, somebody, stole their cat or somebody got pregnant, who knows what, right? James.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yes, I I learned today, and thank you to your guest from, I believe, New Jersey. But yes, get too technical. I need to be more on the other side of that. And so that was an aha for me. And I appreciate the script that you put up behind you, Denny. I think that's a good way to get into a conversation with folks when you're cold calling, which is what I intend to do.
Well, I'll give you this one. This will be right up your alley. This is for people that just might be on the market. This is for the investor or second homeowner, which should be right up your cup of tea. Secondly, because you ask them how they're doing. Hey, there's an extreme shortage of homes for sale. So if I can sell your vacation house, your investment property for more money in this white hot market, would you entertain that idea? If you could win the lottery by selling your home or vacation home in this market, would you entertain that idea? That is a question that will get their attention. So
I like that it creates urgency. It's awesome.
yeah, it's something different. Anything else before we go? We lost John. Sonny's still there. Thank you enough for hanging out.
Well done, Denny.
Hey, Kevin.
I like when John says that when you pay rent, you get 0% return on your money. Rent is 100% interest. I thought that was an eye opener.
Last thing I'll say, I agree with you. Here's something. This is free for you guys that hung on the line. What would you think if somebody went to the casino? I thought about this when John said this, and they bet on the square on the roulette table, if there was such a thing, that was guaranteed to lose. What would you think of that person?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like when you rent, you're guaranteed to lose. There is no win in renting. There's no win in renting. All is right. All right, you guys.
That's awesome.
You guys be careful out there. Love you, mean it.
Thank you.